What's going on, Imperials? Emperor Cubone here. Shiny Pokemon are a mysterious and rare occurrence in the Pokemon games. Whether it's a random encounter in the wild, or hard work through breeding or chaining, it's always exciting to be granted an opportunity to run into such a special Pokemon. Everyone's got their own stories about shiny Pokemon, but I thought I'd share mine. So here are some shiny stories about Pokemon. Quite fittingly, the first shiny Pokemon I ever encountered was the first Pokemon ever designed, Rhydon. It was on Route 228 in the postgame of Diamond version. At this point I had heard of shiny Pokemon, but still being relatively new at playing the games, I was a little bit more cavalier than perhaps I should have been, and unfortunately, due to my only critical hit of the day, the Rhydon fainted. However, it's my belief that everyone is allowed to fail at least one shiny Pokemon, and it helped me to learn a valuable lesson for the next time. A month or two later, I was continuing to train on Route 229, because that's where the strongest wild Pokemon were, and suddenly a purple Ariados popped out of the grass. Well, I was not about to make the same mistake twice, so I switched in my Tyranitar to kick up a sandstorm, and at this point they were permanent, so I kept switching between my Tyranitar, Empoleon, and Metagross, since they were all immune to the sand, all the while whittling down the Ariados. Eventually, I started hurling Pokeballs at it, and soon enough, I had my very first shiny Pokemon. I was very proud of having taken my first new step to be a Pokemon Master. The next shiny Pokemon I got was one that I'm sure is common for many of you, and that is the shiny red Gyarados from the Lake of Rage in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. While not quite as impressive, it was no less exciting for me at the time, and having played through Soul Silver more than any other game I own, I have multiple of both genders of this shiny Pokemon. It was some time before I found another shiny, all the way in the Unova region. I was training in Victory Road when I suddenly found a shiny Mienfoo, which really has a much better color scheme than the original. It had been so long since I had found a shiny, but it was not 3 days after this that I stumbled across a shiny Cubchoo in the bottom of Twist Mountain. Needless to say, I was pretty pleased that week. I was so excited that I evolved the Cubchoo and trained the Beartic all the way to level 100 in White version. In the break between Generations 5 and 6, I was playing a variety of games to pass the time. One of those games was Sapphire version. It was only the second time I had played through, but I was training near Lily Cove on Route 121 when I found a shiny Zigzagoon. I wasn't quite sure if it was shiny because I had never seen the 3rd generation animation before, but I caught it anyway just to be on the safe side. And maybe a week later, on the same route, I found a shiny Shuppet. This time I could easily tell that there was something different about him. And it was in that time that they released the shiny forms of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina to the Generation 5 games in an event, and I was sure to get one of each for each eligible copy that I had. The next time I found a shiny was in the Kalos region on Route 21. I was training before going into Victory Road and ran into a horde of Spindel. My exact thought process was, oh man, a bunch of Spindel. Holy crap, that one's green! I was nervous trying to meticulously pick off all the other ones before catching that one, but I managed to do it. This chance encounter caused me to look into the newer methods of shiny hunting in this generation, and so I decided that the easiest one to do would be chain fishing. I took my position down below on Route 8 and got my Inkay suction cups ready. It took some repeated tries, but eventually I got my first catch through this method with a shiny Scrope. I'm a very big fan of his color scheme, so I was happy to get him. With my success, I decided to try it out more, and a little while later I came across a shiny Horsey. I evolved him into a Seadra and traded with myself in order to ensure that I could get a shiny Kingdra. Next, while walking through the grass on Route 8, a shiny Drifloon jumped out at me. My immediate thought was, oh man, I wish it was an Inkay, who are also native to that route, and Inkay's one of my favorite new Pokemon, certainly better than old Drifloon. After this, I decided to try even more chain fishing. In the waters of Ambrette Town, I hooked a shiny Coalfish. If you've seen my Johto Problems video, you could guess how I felt about that one. I then moved my efforts up to Route 12, where I eventually fished out a shiny Octillery. In X and Y, I started to use the GTS for Pokemon that I needed to get, and it was a pretty exciting and convenient feature for me, having not utilized it in all of the previous generations. But one day, I was looking for a female Combee or a Vespiquen, and then I saw someone had a shiny Vespiquen up for trade. I hope I don't have to tell you the mind-blowing statistics on that one. Well, all they wanted in return was a Kiro, and since I had played through White 2 a number of times, I had some to spare, so I gladly made the trade. Then, in an effort not to waste my shiny stone, I was looking for a Sanchino, and found one for the extremely good bargain price of a Behian, so I quickly jumped on the trade. It wasn't until later that I looked at Sanchino more closely and realized it was a shiny. I don't know if the person meant to put this up for trade, but I got a way better deal than I thought. Are these shinies over trade hacked? Maybe, who's to say? But even if they are, I didn't hack them in, so that works for me. I frequented the daycare on Route 7, as well as the Battle Chateau, and in one of the patches of flowers outside, I found a shiny Spritzee. I really liked the way it looked and was hesitant about evolving it, but I did end up turning it into an Aromatisse. One day after that, I was training in Victory Road, like usual, when a shiny Girder appeared. I caught it and traded it with myself to get a shiny Conkeldurr. I mentioned frequenting the daycare, and that's because I thought I'd try my hand at the Masuda method for breeding. That is, pairing parents from different countries to increase the chances of a shiny. I looked around my PC and saw I had a foreign Torchic, so I trained it up and put it in the daycare with my other Blaziken. It takes a long time to hatch that many eggs, so while running around, I randomly ran into a shiny Skiddo, so I got to add his and Go-Goat's weird banana horns to my roster. And eventually, all that hard work at the daycare paid off when I hatched a shiny Torchic. Since I had found success on my first attempt at breeding for a shiny, one afternoon, I decided that I would try the same with my very favorite Pokemon, Empoleon. So I got on the GTS, found a foreign Piplup, and began work at the daycare at the Battle Resort in Alpha Sapphire. And a mere 57 eggs later, that same day, I hatched a bright shiny Piplup. What can I say? It's almost like I was meant to have my favorite Pokemon as a shiny. Wow, I've been talking for a long time and still have so much left to go. I haven't even begun to get into the more intricate methods of shiny hunting. Well, that'll have to be picked up another time. So those are just some of my shiny Pokemon stories. What shiny Pokemon have you captured? Which ones are your favorites? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. I'll see you around next time.